Hello, Year 3. Welcome to today's English lesson. Please could I ask you to make a start by writing the date and the title into your book. Remember, you can pause the video if you need a bit more time to do that. Okay, so today's English lesson is going to be probably the longest piece of writing that you've done since we have been learning remotely. You've been doing little paragraphs of writing and sentences here and there. But today we're going to have a go at retelling the story of War and Peace. Sorry, it's backwards. Retelling the story of War and Peace in your own words. So you're going to have the pictures for each page of the story to help you, but then you're going to write the words to the story to go with the pictures. And hopefully you're quite clear in the story by now, because we've been doing it every day this week and we've been rereading different parts of it each day. So hopefully what actually happens in the story is quite clear in your mind. So you're going to be showing me, you're going to be showing Mrs. Dear, Miss Jose, Miss Russell, you're going to be showing all of us how you are able to use conjunctions, because we've been doing lots of work around using conjunctions. And we're also going to be learning about something called adverbs of time, which is here. So adverbs of time. Now, you know the word adverbs already, because we've already looked at adverbs that tell us how something is happening. So we've looked at those adverbs that usually end in ly, although not always, but words like quickly, quietly, fearfully, those words that tell us more about the verb and how the verb is being done. So those are called adverbs of manner, because they describe how something is happening. Today's lesson is going to be a chance for you to use adverbs of time. And adverbs of time are words that tell you when something is happening. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples of adverbs of time. If I can make it go to the next slide. There we go. So adverbs of time. So some examples of these are on the screen right now. These are not all of the adverbs of time in the whole world. These are just a selection that I have chosen for today's lesson that we're going to focus on. Okay. And these are the ones that I would like you to really try hard to use in your writing today. So we have got first, next, after that, then, afterwards, soon, once, and eventually. So these are words that are really important, because when you're writing a story, or when an author is writing a story, these are the words that help to move the story along. And they also help the reader to understand when things are happening in the story. So, as you are writing the story today, I would like you to be focusing on using these words. That doesn't mean that I want you to use an adverb of time in every single sentence that you write today, because that would probably sound a bit strange, to be honest. Just like we don't have a conjunction in every single sentence that you write, because it just sounds a bit strange if you do that, and we have to vary and change each sentence to make it interesting for the reader. So I'm not going to be looking for you to use one of these words in every single sentence, but I am going to be looking to see if you can use each of these words at least once throughout your telling of the story. Okay, so this is the structure of today's lesson. This is how it's going to look. So on each slide, you are going to have the pictures from the story, okay, in the correct order. And then in the yellow box, I've got the adverbs of time so that they're always on the screen, so that you've always got them there as you're writing. If you want to copy them down into your book, because then you can actually tick them off or cross them out once you've used them, then that's okay, because usually in English lessons you would have them printed out on the table in front of you, and we would be encouraging you to tick them off and cross them off once you've used them, because it then shows you, okay, I've used all of those ones, or I haven't used the word eventually yet. Can I get the word eventually in my next paragraph? So if you want to pause the video here to give yourself a chance to copy them down into your book so that you can do that, that's absolutely fine. That would be a good thing to do. If not, if you're just happy to see them on the screen, then that is fine as well. So, also on the slide, in the green box, is a sentence starter. So that is something to get each paragraph of the story started for you, because I know sometimes it's a bit hard. You're looking down at a blank page and you're thinking, oh, how do I start? But once you've got that sentence starter to get yourself going, then usually it flows quite easily. So on most of the slides, you will see a green box where you've got a sentence starter. And it might be the actual sentence starter that I've taken from the story itself, okay? But then I would like you to retell the rest of the story in your own words. So the pictures are here to help you, okay? And you're only going to be doing each section at a time. So you don't have to pause the video here and write the whole story, because you might not remember the whole story, okay? And that would be a bit tricky. So what you're going to do is, for example, this slide is showing now. You are going to, in a moment when I've stopped talking, you are going to pause the video, and then you are going to retell this part of the story, just this part that you can see here with these pictures, which is just the first 2 pages. So the bit where you've got King Lion, bit sad, looking around his countries, realising that there's been no rain, nothing has grown. You've got the larger animals here trying to dig. If you remember, you've got the birds that have flown off to go and get some seeds. This bit here, you've got King Lion is telling his people. I wonder if you can remember what he's telling his people. He's telling his people that the country next door have got loads of things. They're rich neighbours, so we're going to have to go and ask our rich neighbours for help. So that's the bit that's happening in this part of the story, just these pictures that are shown here. And that is the only bit I want you to write at this point in the lesson. So you're going to pause the video. You're going to use the green sentence starter to help you if you want to. King Lion looked around his country and continue that on. And you're going to try and use some adverbs of time as you are writing as well. Okay, so you might say something like, King Lion looked around his country and felt extremely sad, full stop. He realised that it hadn't rained in months, the land was dry and nothing was growing, full stop. The larger animals were digging but were not having any success. And I've got that conjunction but in there, okay? So remember, we're always trying to get conjunctions in our writing, full stop. Then you would go on to the pictures down here and you would start retelling this bit. Okay, so at that point you might decide to use an adverb of time. So you might say something like, then King Lion realised they were going to have to go to their rich neighbours to ask for help. He stood up and spoke to the people of his country and said, and then there might be an opportunity for you to use some inverted commas to add in a bit of speech there of what King Lion is saying to his people. Okay, so that's how this part of the lesson will work. So you will need to pause the video here and use the sentence starter and have a go at retelling just this first part of the story that's shown in these pictures here, okay? Because then we will go to the next slide and we will do each picture one at a time, where you will write a paragraph for each picture and then it will come together to retell the whole story eventually, okay? So pause the video here, off you go, have a go at retelling the story for just those two pictures, the first 2 pages. Good luck. Okay, so hopefully you've paused the video, you've taken as long as you need to have a go at writing, retelling the story in your own words of those first 2 pages. Now, as the lesson goes on, I'm just going to flick to the next slide, which will be the next part of the story without any words, just the picture. And you're then going to pause the video and write your paragraph of writing for that part of the story. So I'm not going to do all of this talking for every slide, because now you know how it's going to work. You know that you've got the adverbs of time to use. You know that you've got the green sentence starter to help you, and you've got the pictures to show you what's actually happening in the story. Okay, so if we just have a look at the next bit. Okay, so we've got the next bit of the story. So we've got he set off. Okay, that's your sentence starter, because King Lion set off cycling across the country. He's got his minister for food with him, and they are approaching the rich king's land. Okay, so you might want to talk a bit about what they can see in the distance, what they're talking about on their journey, if you can remember from the story. And for each picture of the story, I would like you to start a new paragraph. So the paragraph that you've just written for the first 2 pictures, great, that's your first paragraph. I'd now like you to leave a line blank and start your next paragraph underneath. So your next paragraph that you're going to write for this bit of the story here will start underneath. So you will actually have your story and it will be structured into paragraphs, okay? Now, you don't have to write a really long paragraph for each picture. You might just choose to write 2 or 3 sentences. Or it might be a bigger bit of the story where you need to write more sentences, okay? But this is almost like an English lesson that we would do in school, where we just want you to write so that we can actually see how you're getting on, what you're finding easy, what you're finding a bit tricky, and then we can give you feedback when you upload your story to Seesaw. Just like we would do in your English books, we will highlight things in pink that you've done really well. So we'll highlight your adverbs of time in pink, and we'll highlight your conjunctions in pink. And then we will be able to see, okay, this is what you need to work on next. So your story doesn't have to be perfect, but we would like to see what you can actually do, okay? So that's the point of this lesson. Okay, so I'm now going to ask you to pause the video here so that you can retell this part of the story using the pictures that are on the screen now. So the next part of the story and the sentence starter. Off you go. Okay, hello. Hopefully you have now got the first bit of the story. We're now going to go to the next picture. Okay, you've got the next picture and your sentence starter, as they approached. So as they approached the rich king's land, they could see. So this paragraph is going to be a descriptive paragraph where you're describing the picture that's on the screen now of what they could see as they approached his land. And you've written a description of this already. So if you need to flick back in your book and use some of that vocabulary or some of those sentences from the lesson earlier on this week, then absolutely do that, okay? Don't forget those adverbs of time. See if you can get just one of them in this paragraph, okay? Remember, not one in every sentence, but just one in the paragraph. Off you go. Okay, let's have a look at the next picture of the next part of the story then. Oh, okay, so we've got suddenly. Now have a look at this picture. Now what's happening here at this point in the story? You've got sentence starter, suddenly King Lion and his minister for food they are seized by the Fat King's guards, aren't they? So have a go at retelling what's happening here in your own words. Off you go. Okay, this bit of the story is where King Lion and his minister are dragged, they're taken to see the fat greedy king. And the King Lion and the Fat King, they actually have a conversation at this part in the story. So see if you can include some speech, see if you can include what they are saying to each other in your own words. And remember, each time a different character is speaking, you need to start a new line. So if King Lion says something, that goes on one line. And then if the Fat King replies, that needs to go on the next line down. So remember, as your conversation, it needs to go one character on a new line. Okay? So off you go. Okay, next bit of the story. Oh, so here I've done 3 pictures for this bit. So you could just write one sentence for each picture, or you might want to do more than that. But you've got King Lion and his minister for food managed to escape. They're cycling off back to their country. The Fat King's army are desperately trying to chase after them, but they're just a bit too fat. They can't really steer in their tanks. And obviously the cavalry are useless. And then you've got them trying to follow with all of their supplies and their food with them. So you have a go at retelling this part of the story. Remember, start a new paragraph. So leave a line and try and get those adverbs of time in there as well. Off you go. Okay, so we have got this part of the story where King Lion and the Minister for Food, they are able to sound the alarm because the Fat King's army are taking so long to chase after them. They have time to sound the alarm, and then an enormous food fight erupts between them. Okay, so have a go at retelling in your own words what's happening in the top picture, and then a bit of description about what's happening in the food fight. Off you go. Okay. And the next picture, now this is just a really short sentence in the actual story, but you can make it a bit longer in your version. But you've got the birds returning with their seeds that they're dropping, and it began to rain. So you might have something like soon it began to rain, or afterwards, or during is a good adverb of time that isn't included in the yellow box, but that is a good one to use. You could say during the food fight it began to rain, and then the birds returned with their seeds. Okay, I'm going to stop giving you my suggestions now, and I'm going to let you pause the video to have a go at writing it in your own words. Off you go. Okay, so you've got the next bit here. You've got King Lion here is saying something to the Fat King. So I would like you to see if you can include some speech in this part of your story. If you can't remember what King Lion is saying, then doesn't matter, because this is you retelling it in your own words. So you have a think. What do you think King Lion would be saying to the Fat King at this point in the story? You can make it up, as long as it fits in and makes sense for what's actually happening in the story and what King Lion would actually be saying to the Fat King. So see if you can add some inverted commas, some speech in there, of what he might be saying to the Fat King. So that might just be one sentence of speech for that picture, which is fine. Remember, it doesn't have to be a really long paragraph for each picture. You're just retelling the story sentence by sentence. But see if you are including speech, see if you can add an adverb in to describe how King Lion said it. Did he say it forcefully? Try and have a think about some of those ly adverbs that you can use to describe how he's talking. Okay, off you go. Okay, this bit of the story is where the Fat King has been defeated, and then all of a sudden King Lion has a look and realizes that the army trucks have churned up all the land. The birds have brought seeds back. It started to rain, and now they've got land that is able to grow something. So King Lion is standing there. He's feeling triumphant. He has defeated the Fat King, and now he's got beautiful land that will be able to grow lots of food for the people of his country. So that's what's going on in this picture, this part of the story. So have a go at retelling that in your own words. Off you go. Okay, and if you didn't include any speech in that, you might want to include now just a bit of speech of what King Lion is saying. He's looking at his country. In the story, he actually says, there will be plenty for everyone. So if you want to use that directly from the story and add in another sentence underneath now using inverted commas, there will be plenty for everyone, King Lion declared. Something like that, then you might want to add that in now. So pause the video here and add that in if you didn't add any speech in. Okay, and finally, you're now going to write a couple of sentences to end the story where you're basically going to say that the Fat King was defeated, everyone lived happily ever after in King Lion's land. There was enough food for everybody, and off they rode into the sunset. The end. Okay, so have a go at writing your ending, your final part of your story. Pause the video and have a go at doing that now. Okay, well done everybody. You might have found that to be the trickiest English lesson that we've done so far. And that's because it was just a chance for you to write, and it wasn't as structured as the other English lessons where you've had to just write a short paragraph and then I've shown you a good example so you can compare. That was more of an open-ended lesson for you to just show off, basically. Show off what you can do, show off those conjunctions, those adverbs, show that you can use speech and inverted commas correctly. So it's kind of pulling everything together that we've done over the last few weeks and using them in retelling a story yourself. Okay, so yes, it is a bit tricky, but I am so excited to read your versions of the story on the Seesaw. So please upload them. I will be going through with my pink highlighter, highlighting all those adverbs of time and conjunctions and full stops in the right places. So before you upload it to Seesaw, please just take 10 minutes now to read your story through from beginning to end. Check that it makes sense. Check that you have used full stops in the right places, and also check that you have used capital letters. If you're writing King Lion, then you should have a capital K and a capital L, okay? That is his name, it's a proper noun. So check for those capital letters, check for those full stops, make sure it is the best story you've ever written, and I look forward to seeing it on Seesaw. Have a good weekend, everyone.